I mean, there's crackling energy, and then there's crackling energy. It's just a solid beam of lightning. Ha! Hello, my fellow sorcerers, and welcome to my next build for Season 10. The season of very much, let's be honest, lightning. Whether in ball form, whether in crackling form, it's all on top form. That sounded cooler in my head. For us this season. So many of you requested a full endgame torment for proper, perfect, finished crackling energy, as opposed to the sort of starter one to get you to torment for, and I just couldn't say no. So here we are then with perfected, proper endgame crackling energy using Esadora's cameo and its new buffed workings. So the thing with this build is it has a lot of overlap with ball lightning, because Esadoras gives you crackling energy 10% multiplicative more damage for every rank in a shock skill on your bar. It means we want to stack ranks of shock skills. And the way to play ball lightning, of course, is with your advanced techniques, which means you want to stack ranks of ball lightning, which is a shock skill. So there is some obvious synergy here that when we incorporate the ways that we get like 35 ranks of ball lightning, but then into Esadoras, we start to really amplify that crackling energy damage and then some. With a few other tweaks, some choice changes of gear, a complete Paragon, and you start to have some hilarity. Like the fact that this build, which obviously is kind of hybrid-y, we still use ball lightning as the engine. It generates the crackling energy. We keep using okuns, so it's rotating round us, but that's not really the reason why. It gives us more ranks of ball lightning. It gives us attack speed. It just makes everything play smoother, so it kind of looks like ball lightning despite being crackling energy. But that's not a bad thing that there is some hybridness going on, because it means your ball lightnings themselves, that are just the engine for crackling energy, still hit for absurd billions of damage on top of crackling energy now doing the same. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't as good of a pit pusher as ball lightning. Ball lightning is our build of the season when it comes to reaching pure DPS to its utter maximum. But the thing is, you don't need DPS to its utter maximum for Torment 4, you just need to destroy Torment 4. So while you can certainly speed through pits and level your glyphs with this, and it's a lot of fun, and while you can certainly still boss with your eyes closed in seconds and just ignore all incoming damage, which is just so funny. Like, it's so tanky. We use Mana Shield with it now because it's just too effective, and it lets you essentially ignore everything on screen when it comes to survival, and it's one of the most immortal builds that has ever happened with how little effort goes into making it immortal. You basically just put Mana Shield on and then have basic damage reduction. In any case, on top of ball lightning, then just shredding everything that comes near us, crackling energy shreds everything that comes near us, which means that despite pit and bossing being a little bit worse than pure ball lightning, well, the Infernal Hordes, which, let's be honest, that's what this season is all about, is so good with crackling energy. That extra range round you that everything just automatically gets killed is so key for just the best, easiest, most comfortable, fun, fast aether farming of your life. It is so satisfying to just move via only spam teleporting with absurd attack speed, resetting your teleport just constantly as crackling energy just auto-zaps everything around you into oblivion, and anything that doesn't get zapped, well, gets near your ball lightning ring and disintegrates anyway. True endgame crackling energy is so good, and on other seasons this would be absurd. It's actually kind of ridiculous that it's only like our second best build. In any case, without further ado then, let's get into this. The skill tree then greets us first as always, and really, the skill tree for Esadora's Crackling Energy is so silly to me, because what matters is ranks of shock skills on your bars. We end up with just 6 shock skills as a pure lightning setup, and we just need to pour ranks on the skill tree. So we get 5 out of 5 into Spark, which then moves us on. You want to put 5 out of 5 into Charged Bolts. I'll leave Chain Lightning for now. You then come over here and you put 5 out of 5 into Teleport, alongside Enhanced and Shimmering to get that permanent damage reduction going. You then get to your Glass Cannon, 3 out of 3, before you then move on and grab Familiar over to Enhanced and Invoked. That way when they get summoned out of Unstable Currents, we get that damage increase. You then put 5 out of 5 into Lightning Spear, over to Enhanced and then Invoked. We don't need any barrier synergy because we're playing with Mana Shield, which is another reason that switching to Mana Shield over Cornered Beast is good, because you get a lot more flexibility here. We still want 3 out of 3 in Primordial Binding. The way we've set it up is we will essentially permanently have 12 Lightning Spears, which is massive amounts of mana regen, which is essentially massive amounts of health regen, adding to our immortalness, and that's why it's our second enchantment, along with the obvious Teleport enchantment being first for that spam moving everywhere. Then we grab 3 out of 3 Mana Shield, just for more damage reduction. Then we come over here, and we, well, put 5 ranks into Ball Lightning. Shocking, I know. Shocking. And then we get Enhanced and finally Wizards, so it's always summoning Crackling Energy to keep that permanent zap attack alive. And then we get 1 rank in Invigorating Conduit, just so mana is coming in constantly in floods, as is then our health with Mana Shield, as we can't take Blizzard for Wizard's Blizzard to be our crutch here. And we don't even have spare points for Inner Flames, because Inner Flame is 6% multiplicative per rank, whereas just putting a point into a shock skill is 10%. So, yeah, though of course Inner Flames does reflect the Ball Lightning as well, so if you want a more well-rounded and more of a true hybrid, you can take 3 points out of a random shock skill and put them in Inner Flames, but, you know, we're going all in here. Then we come over to our ultimates, where we get Elemental Synergies, and you'll never see a better use for it than, you know, the full shock bar. Grab the extra cooldown reduction from Evocation, helps towards that spam Teleport Evade. Then we only get 1 in Permafrost as we don't have a Frost skill, but we want Icy Touch and Hoarfrost. We will be triggering Frost Nova, and Icy Touch is just more nice vulnerable damage. Then we get 5 out of 5 in Unstable Currents. Grab your Prime and then your Supreme, and then head over to Convulsions via your Conduction to get 3 out of 3 in this to auto pick up Crackling Energy. And our key passive, as you might imagine, is the Crackling Energy key passive. 85% multiplicative increased lightning damage is just so good. At this point, you'll have some points left, and then you can either choose to put them in Inner Flames, or you can just dump them into Chain Lightning. And of course, Chain Lightning sits on our bars just to buff Crackling Energy, and Charged Bolt sits on our bars just above Crackling Energy, and so does Spark, though we can actually make use of Spark, which is nice. And because we summon so many Lightning Spears automatically, you basically just don't have to press Lightning Spear anyway. So much of this bar is just there to passively damage amp us. In any case, there we are. Gear-wise then, and you'll never see a more perfect armor cap than that. That's so good. In any case, yeah, for your legendaries and aspects, you want to have a 1 hand, because of course we are using okuns for the ranks of Ball Lightning, as this essentially represents 50% multiplicative more damage to our Crackling Energy, on top of all of the extra benefits it provides. In any case, we use then either a wand or a sword is fine, and you want to have charged flash on it. However, if you are using a setup of this that involves a normal legendary amulet, that's where your charged flash wants to go, so you can 1.5 times it up, just to note. Then on your boots, you want to have gravitational to keep pulling people into the death spiral, and then finally, if you have a normal piece of armor like I do here, Wild Bolt is pretty good, as is something just like Everliving for casual damage reduction. If you don't end up having a mythic unique ring like me and Starless, and you have a normal ring, then Shredding Blades is your next aspect to put on. And if you end up using normal gloves, well, Inner Calm becomes the next aspect to worth putting on, so those are kind of your offensive aspects, and you just put them in places where you need to have legendary gear. Obviously, the existence of Chaos Unique makes builds a little bit awkward this season, because it's very hard to get the perfect ones in the perfect slots, so we can't really predict what everyone's going to have access to, so hopefully that covers your bases. Essentially, Charged Flash is the most important on your amulet if you can, followed by your Shredding Blades, followed by your Inner Calm for your 3 offensive slots, which at most you should have. Then when it comes to uniques, you want Okuns Catalyst to be our engine with Ball Lightning, the ranks, and so on and so forth. We want Galvanic Azurite, as it's just a really nice damage increase, and of course works directly with Crackling Energy. We need Esadoras Cameo, as it's the entire point of the build, and without it, Crackling Energy just doesn't do any damage. And then you have yourself Chaos Uniques and Mythic Uniques. The ideal Mythic Uniques are your Ring of Starless Skies, and then either your Harlequin or your Heir of Perdition. Both are completely fine. Harlequin is better for speed farming, it makes the build play faster. Perdition is going to just give you that extra oomph for top end damage if you're wanting to pit push with it, but I just like the speed of Harlequin's Crest, and you know, plus 4 ranks to all skills is plus 4 ranks to every single skill on this bar, which is obviously a metric ton of damage then into Esadoras. So if you don't have your Mythic Uniques yet, well, you just put on normal ring, as I said, with the next defensive aspect in the priority line, and then you put on a regular helmet like so. Now, depending on your Chaos Unique and so on situation, you need to keep an eye on your armor, make sure you're capped for Torment 4. So if, for example, you end up in a situation like I kind of hope to be, which is this chest replaced with yet another Chaos Unique, I would then need to get an armor roll as one of my affixes on my boots, and finally finish farming the skulls so that both my ring skulls are royal skulls, which is an extra chunk of armor too. But always think about your armor cap with what you're wearing. In any case, that's kind of that. Chaos Uniques then. So, we have 3 main spots. We want to keep our boots as they are, because we need attacks reduce evade cooldown, we want the ranks of Ball Lightning, we want the ranks of Static Discharge, we want the evade cooldown reduction. Regular legendary boots are just too useful, which gives us 3 Chaos Unique slots, because of course eventually, ideally, your helmet will be Harlequins. Now, we need to have Esadoras, so let's pretend then that I have Esadoras as a Chaos Unique in my chest slot, and I have this normal amulet on with Charged Flash. This then would be ideal. I move my Esadoras to my chest as a Chaos Unique, and then get the extra damage from having a regular legendary amulet. So imagine my chest is Chaos Unique Esadoras, you then want Chaos Unique Crown of Lucian for that huge damage increase that it gives you, and another reason that Mana Shield is so important, and then you want one of 2 items. Either Banished Lord's Talisman if you care about the Ball Lightning hybrid part of this doing as much damage as possible, as it will obviously amp it massively with how much mana we're spending, and hey, that plus 6 to core skills, well, that's plus 6 to your Ball Lightning, your Charged Bolts, and your Chain Lightning, which is 18 ranks, which is another 180 in to your Esadoras. So, like, it's definitely outdoing any given random legendary aspect, and then some. It represents a huge damage increase to the Crackling Energy, and on top of that gives the Ball Lightning engine a massive juice too by being the same mechanism that Ball Lightning pure is the best build. However, you are also completely fine to use instead Fists of Fate. They do a similar job, but I think Banished Lords is just a little bit better overall, especially as it lets your Ball Lightning also be a meaningful part of your damage without splitting the damage focus and what we're amping. We're not taking away from Crackling Energy, we're just adding to Ball Lightning. So that's where your Chaos Uniques would fall if you had them all ideally. Hopefully, that all kind of made sense. When it comes to our runes and gems then, you want critical strike damage in your weapons, you want full skulls armor in your jewelry, and then you want intelligence in your one piece of armor. For your runes, you want to have yourselves 5 skills then exhausted for +1 to all skills for obvious reasons, and then you want to have Mystical Frost Nova going off so we can take advantage of extra damage to Frozen on our skill tree, and then any good generator is fine. fine, because I've got the lightning spear enchantment, and we always have 12 up. This is obviously a really, really good generator for it, and you get frost novas going off all the time. That then is your gear. At least it will be once we've covered affixes. On your weapon, you want intelligence, damage, and then vulnerable damage or critical strike damage. On a regular ring, you want critical strike chance, vulnerable damage, attack speed. You obviously don't want max life because of mana shield, so this could be a lot better for me. Then on your boots, you want intelligence and ranks to ball lightning, and then either mana per second or armor, depending on what you need. If you have a regular chest and helmet, then you want intelligence, mana per second, and armor, with percent total armor and ranks to discharge once we get to the tempering and masterworking, which we are about to. If you have a regular amulet, then you ideally want percent intelligence and then 2 of ranks to permafrost, inner flames, or glass cannon. When it comes to tempering and masterworking, then on your weapon, you want crackling energy damage and a crackling energy chance to zap more targets. On your boots, you want static discharge and evade cooldown reduction. On any armor, you want percent total armor and ranks to static discharge. On your gloves, you want crackling energy damage and then more ranks to discharge. On any rings, you want crackling energy damage and then kind of whatever you feel like. Honestly, unstable currents is no longer really needed, but it's not like there's a better option. Then on your amulet, you want evade cooldown reduction and then damage to crackling energy. That about covers it, and when it comes to masterworking, very simple. Anywhere that there is ranks of any skills, you want to focus that, and then afterwards anything cooldown reduction based. Chaos perks then, you want pretty much the same ideal damage setup that Ball Lightning has. The reason for it is, well, first we have mana shield to enable the whole thing. Without it, we just don't have the mana pool to cast Ball Lightning as fast as possible in order to generate infinite crackling energy, and it also makes us unkillable. It's just too good even over your, cornered beast. In any case, we then explosive combinations. You cast a basic skill once every 5 seconds and maintain stacks of 60% multiplicative damage increase, which is nice, but it is an annoying maintenance buff, so you don't have to have it. You can instead put something like invigorating attacks on and just have essentially a full health restore on command every 5 seconds. In any case, we then leave advanced techniques on to massively amp ball lightning damage, and we leave power siphon on to massively amp ball lightning damage. There just really isn't anything else to add more damage to specifically crackling energy, so we might as well add damage to the ball lightning. And stuff like chaos eruptions and all of that just isn't really that worth in comparison, so this is sort of where we end up. Mercenaries, real quick, you want Subo, and you want to take him down to opening fire for that critical strike increase, unless you need help with all res still, in which case Rahir is always there, and then the 10% attack speed from Bloodthirst on Vajana. Which then takes us to how to play this, and I cannot stress enough how hilariously simple this is to play, even compared to pure ball lightning. What I'm going to need you to do is hold down your ball lightning button. Alright, are you with me so far? That's step 1. Step 2 is every time unstable currents is available to press unstable currents. Alright, that's step 2. Step 3 is teleport onto the enemies / through the dungeon. That's it. That's the entire 3 steps of this build. Hold ball lightning down, press unstable currents on cooldown, and teleport to the enemies. If you're feeling, extra spicy and you want that stacking basic attack chaos perk damage, do a basic attack once every 5 seconds on top. But other than that, literally hold ball lightning, teleport, unstable currents. Everything else on your bar is either there just to buff or lightning spear, which you already have the maximum 12 out anyway, so you don't gain anything from pressing 1 yourself manually. It really is rather amusing. There you are. Finally then, Paragon, and then I'll get Paragon and leave you to play the build. Okay, look, the point is, follow me point for point. Head up and right to grab Elementalist, and wherever there is spare magic damage increasing nodes that we don't need to go through, if you have more points than me, then grab them. I'll just show you the minimum skeleton path. They have resilience, and then we take that up to the first glyph slot, where we slot and activate charged for that obvious crackling energy synergy. Grabbing studied, grabbing elemental banish, and then heading up into the first gate, where we have ourselves enchantment master. Grab said enchantment master, bottom right, and then head up and left to ruinous, and over to then tactical, the glyph slot, where exploit finds its home, activated all nice, and then elemental balance. We then come back over, grab yourself Suffused Resilience, and you only need to take these if you feel you actually do need the all-res and the damage reduction. I still like to have it, I've got the points anyway, just makes things extra comfortable, but do keep that in mind. Then we continue right to the gate, where we have Ceaseless Conduit, and we want to head initially down to the glyph slot, where we will slot and activate Destruction, grab Galvanic Catalyst, grab Devastate, and then get every single little bit of dex in the area to power up Destruction as much as possible. Then we want to head up and round via Conduit all the way to grab the legendary node in Ceaseless Conduit itself. Then we want to head up top past Suffused Resilience into the gate, where we will then place yourself Static Surge. You want to head straight up to the glyph slot, where we slot and activate Unleash, head up to Electro, and then to Incapacitate as we go all the way around and grab Static Surge. Then, finally, we head south out of the Ceaseless Conduit board to the gate, where we attach, finally, Frigid Fate. The glyph like this, Oppressive in the top left, head down to here. If you do have the spare points, grab Oppressive. If not, straight to the glyph, slot and activate Tactician. And then head down to Elemental Favor, and then right through Weakness, and then all the way to activate Frigid Fate. And as I said, any spare points that you have past this, just get all of the offensively increasing magic nodes around the place on every single board. And there we have it, everybody. Final perfected super endgame torment for Crackling Energy for all you Crackling Energy lovers out there. I hope you do get a kick out of this. It's very, very fun. And let me know what other Sorcerer builds you'd like to see for this season. For now, like you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.